All right, welcome back to another episode of the Psychopedia podcast. I'm your co-host, Tank Sinatra, here with my comfy co-host.
Investigators later.
She's slumming.
I'm not slumming. I'm just comfy.
Slumpy.
Yes. Slumpy.
Can we right off the bat just trash talk airlines for 1 second?
Can we what?
Trash talk airlines for 1 second.
You can do whatever you want.
I got a real bone. This is a crime, by the way.
What happened?
So the winter break that our kids have, right? I looked for flights to somewhere out west. I don't remember. I was looking at a bunch of different places, and everywhere I looked, bottom line is, during this week, the flights for a family of 5 were $12,000.
Oh my God.
Regular seats, by the way.
Uh-huh.
The week after, they were $2,000.
Yeah.
No, fuck that. That is out of control.
It absolutely
Fuck
is.
you, airlines, for doing that to us. You're greedy. Take it down a notch or 3. If they're triple, okay, I get it. Supply, demand. You want to gouge a little bit. 6X?
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Did you try and book it like now? Like this is winter break. Did you do this in
is
advance?
2 months from now.
What?
No, not this. 2 months from now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you looked today to leave in 2 days. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, that's outrageous. That's really, it's robbery.
It's not okay.
It's not. I agree.
I'll be honest with you. I am okay with capitalizing on demand. Obviously.
That's business.
You got to do what you got to do. But that just seems a bridge too far. And I really am
It's egregious.
disappointed in the state of things
I get it.
right now.
I totally get it. But can we go back to talking about how comfy I am today?
Yeah.
I have.
Run them through it. Tell them what you got going on.
It's a snowy day here in New York today. So I'm wearing big, furry boots. Big. In fact, let's get a picture. I'll post it on our Instagram page.
Okay.
For anybody who's interested. If you're not, that's really okay.
Psychopedia Pod, for those of you who don't follow us yet, we would love to see you on our social media pages too.
We
Instagram,
really would.
TikTok, YouTube, everywhere.
And I'm wearing a hoodie and it's so comfy and I'm loving life right now.
Good.
I feel great. I feel comfortable. I feel
Ready.
like a little snow bunny. Right.
Moisturized, hydrated, thriving.
All of the above.
My skin?
Yeah, you talk about it a lot.
Well, it's new to me to look like you're not, living in a desert.
You never had bad skin. I don't know what this
I'm
is.
not saying I had bad skin. I'm just saying it wasn't like it is now.
You also shaved, so we see your skin.
That's why I shaved.
Oh, really?
So I could take care of my skin better. Yeah. It's hard to moisturize facial hair. It's not, it's not easy. It doesn't go as far.
I get it.
The moisturizer kind of just gets rubbed into the hairs. It's not,
I know. So Dave has to shave, Firefighter Dave has to always shave his beard because he's a firefighter and that's like the rule because the helmets don't
seal.
have the same suction. Exactly. But he wasn't responding to calls the past 2 days. So he let his beard grow in.
For 2 days?
Oh, yeah. He gets like the
whatever.
Oh my God. I love it so much. I love it. But he can't do it ever. He can have a mustache. No, thank you.
Wait a second. Is that why firefighters have mustaches?
Yes, Tank, it is. That is, and Fu Manchus, they go crazy with it because that's all they can get crazy with.
Oh my God, I can't believe on this day in my life.
I was today years old.
I learned that.
Yeah. So I've been just like scratching at his face and looking at all the silver that's new that wasn't there the last time he grew it in a little bit. I love it.
Wow, that is really blowing my mind right now.
Yeah. Yep. So you learn something new every day, and I'm glad that I brought you a piece of information.
You did. That's a big one.
I know.
I know it's not, but
no, it is.
To me, it is.
It actually is. When you learn why something that you've kind of always wondered, but like never thought, you never cared enough probably to look into it.
Yeah.
And it just hit you right now.
Yeah, because the around here needs to be shaved so they can not breathe in smoke.
Learning is exciting.
Mustaches save lives.
Should we get merch?
Sure.
With like Firefighter Dave's face?
Sure. But with a jaw like his, you don't really want to be covering it with facial hair.
But then when he would shave beneath the jawline, it would accentuate said jawline.
Yeah.
So, you know. Anyway.
Enough about Dave's jaw. Although I could go on.
I could easily go on. It's like perfect. But I want to say, I'm going to switch gears for a second. I know you're going to go through Patreon names and our usual stuff, but I don't want to forget to say this. today's case is disgusting. So I'm going to request respectfully for our listeners / viewers, don't eat. It's for your benefit. I'm looking out for you. I would say, listening to this case, I do not recommend food.
Okay. Can I caveat that?
You may.
You may eat if you want. And you can listen to this also, only because don't listen to this if you're eating. It's kind of like it's not a real thing for me anyway. Like, I've never been eating something, heard something, and been like, and thrown up. It's like,
okay,
I know that I'm eating a sandwich and not organs.
I got two things to say to that. Number one, I'm not actually telling people that they cannot eat. You may do anything you want to the person listening / watching right now.
You're saying they shouldn't.
I'm looking out for you, and I'm recommending that you don't. Like the same way somebody might recommend you don't eat before you go on a roller coaster. You can do what you want. I'm just recommending you take the precaution. That's what I'm doing here.
That makes more sense to my brain.
Okay. So go through your usual intro, your usual adieu.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you for listening and heading into the 2025 with us. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, we got some really exciting things.
It's going to be nice for everybody involved. So stick around. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the podcast. If this is your 100th time listening, welcome home. Freak. If you haven't subscribed to us yet on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen, please do so, because it helps us a lot. It helps us continue to bring you this quality content that you've come to love and admire, and it just makes us feel good. So there's really nothing more to it. Like, I don't have a lot of evidence for why you should do it. It's just we like it. So please do it. On YouTube, do your part, leave a heart. Let us know you're watching over there. We love that. And if you're not getting enough of what you want here and you love us and you're just kind of like hitting the tail end of your binge, we do have an answer for you. We have a solution. It is patreon.com/psychopediapod for all you could ever want and more. Truly. It's a fun time over there. There is something new happening on Patreon as of this year. We are going to be releasing ad-free episodes the same week that they come out publicly. So it used to be a week after due to our, arrangement, but it is going to be the day of now. So if you like listening to stuff ad-free, patreon.com/psychopediapod, and you don't have to wait. It's going to be right there waiting for you. But anyway, without any further ado, I want to read some Patreon names to give these people the attention they deserve and move on to the episode. Okay, so Anne.
Hey, Anne.
Just Anne.
Classic.
Brittany Short, which is probably her real last name.
Oh, no. I thought it was Brittany Short because I am short and did a Brittany impersonation. It could be either. I don't know. Let us know, Brittany.
I don't know. Yeah, let us know. Nipsageddon.
Sick.
Because of my nipples. Well, not really my nipples, my lips and my nipple cream. Elizabeth, wow. Elizabeth. It is Elizabeth Moss.
Hey.
Welcome to Patreon. Who shit their pants?
Amazing. I know exactly what that is.
Unbelievable.
Sending a memo out.
Shout out to my friend Adam, who said that when we were talking about who shot ya. Hannah Evans.
Hey, Hannah.
Emily, allegedly. You must have listened to all 3 parts of the Diddy episode.
Very good.
Because the Diddy case, because it was a lot of allegedly in there. And then finally, the biggest, most just fucking unbelievable Patreon name. No disrespect to anybody else, but I'm going to read it to you. I want you to tell me what you think it means. You're going to know immediately, even though it's in another language.
Okay.
Détendez vos organes génitaux.
Una más?
Détendez vos organes génitaux.
Yo no sé.
That is French, first of all, not Spanish.
I know. I know, okay. But I only know Spanish.
For relax your genitals.
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui, me gusta.
Very good.
Je t'aime beaucoup. So thank you for putting that together and sharing it with us. We're happy to be here. We're happy you're here. And without any further organes génitaux, I would love to hear about this disgusting episode you're about to take us through.
Very tragic as well.
Oh, it's tragic too?
But it's very disgusting.
What is it more?
Tragic.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
At Psychopedia Central, we do not kink shame. Throughout our exploration of diverse sexual proclivities, appetites, and behaviors, we attempt to maintain a consistent vibe of to each their own.
Yes.
As long as all participants are safe, mentally stable, non-vulnerable, consenting adults.
Yes.
We believe in respecting individual preferences and encouraging open-mindedness as long as everyone involved is comfortable and there is mutual consent. It's all about embracing personal freedom and fostering a healthy, responsible approach to exploring one's and others' desires.
With that said, y'all are some freaks out there. Y'all doing some freaky shit.
And I stand by this, usually.
Yeah.
But today, I'm not sure that I can stomach, literally, getting behind one particular sexual fetish we've yet to explore until now.
I was just going to say, like, to an extent.
Mm-hmm. This is the extent.
This is the extent.
It's so deeply shocking, this sexual fetish proclivity condition, that when a 13-year-old boy, completely by accident, stumbled upon a photograph of his own father engaging in this fetish, it sent off a chain of events so absolutely horrific that it ultimately cost the boy his innocent life.
Really?
I will warn you, again, that today's episode is on a whole new level of disturbing. And I strongly advise against eating while listening/watching, because the details of this case will not only break your heart, but will make your stomach turn.
What if they're eating like pretzels or something, which is pretty like innocuous?
I think any attempt to swallow food while you're listening to what happens may be problematic. Brace yourself for a whirlwind of emotions as we dive into the absolutely horrific case of Mark Redwine, aka the shit-eating killer.
Red wine. That's what I do when I get nervous.
I know.
This is going to be a doozy. This is going to be a duty.
Today, we are going to start in the middle of the story with learning about Mark's beautiful 13-year-old son, Dylan. Dylan Nicholas Redwine was born in Durango, Colorado on February 6, 1999 to his parents, Mark and Elaine Redwine. He had two older half-brothers from Mark's previous marriage, both significantly older and living in Nevada, as well as an older full brother named Corey, with whom he lived. During Dylan's early years, Mark was a devoted stay-at-home dad who built a strong bond with both Dylan and Corey. That might be actually too generous. I don't know that he developed a strong bond, but he was there.
Yeah.
But as Mark's alcohol abuse, affairs, verbal abuse, and possibly physical abuse escalated and his marriage to Elaine began to unravel, his relationships with his sons began to weaken. After Mark and Elaine divorced in 2009, following 18 years of marriage and a 4-year separation, Dylan primarily lived with his mother, seeing little of Mark, who opted not to exercise his right to shared custody.
So they're living with the mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Following the divorce, Mark retained the family home, necessitating that Elaine and the children relocate 6 hours away to Colorado Springs, which is 300 miles away from what they'd been calling home. Additionally, Mark would often withhold his affection and financial support from Dylan and his brother Corey when he was displeased with them or their mother. As the situation deteriorated, a judge eventually granted sole custody of Dylan to his mother, because by this time, Corey, who was 8 years older than Dylan, had already reached adulthood, and the court offered Mark, visitation rights with Dylan, but Corey was already technically an adult.
Yeah.
And one of the times in which Mark requested to have Dylan visit was during Thanksgiving week in 2012. However, Dylan was very reluctant, to say the least, to fly out to La Plata County, a rugged and mountainous region in southwest Colorado where Mark lived, because during Dylan's last visit with Mark in 2011, along with his brother Corey, everything changed for the boys. The visit involved a road trip out to Cleveland to see some NASCAR tracks and baseball games. However, during one of the days at the motel where they'd been staying, when Mark, the father, was lying down for a nap, Dylan decided to open up his laptop and have a peek at some curious photos that were lingering in the trash can.
Okay, so he was looking for something on the computer, obviously.
Yeah, he took his dad's computer out.
But he didn't open it up to play Roblox and then come across some crazy shit.
I think he took the laptop to mess around on it, to go on the internet, to do this, to do that, and then had a little look around.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to him or anyone, the simple act of taking his dad's laptop and having a look around wound up setting off a chain of events that would have devastating, lethal consequences. And this is what Dylan, who wound up showing Corey, saw on Mark's laptop. Brace.
Buckle up.
Yep. 4 photographs of Mark wearing red lipstick, a red bra, and in other photos, a tight white tank top with pink lace, provocatively licking and ingesting his own feces, which he'd extracted from the fully loaded adult diaper that he was wearing.
Oh my God. Your dad? Oh my God. You used to yell at me for not unloading the dishwasher, and you're eating your own shit, dude? Fuck you. You used to tell me how much butter to use, and you're wearing a diaper and eating it? You don't have a leg to stand on anymore. How could you ever possibly take your dad seriously?
That's a big sticking point.
Yes.
In what happens after the discovery of these photos.
Oh. Son, mow the lawn. Yeah, go eat your own shit. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. According to Corey, these photographs fundamentally changed the way both boys looked at their father.
It just changed me. So I can only imagine.
Neither one of them wanted to spend any time with Mark following that visit. Corey had taken photographs of the photographs on his cell phone, but Dylan did not maintain any copies of the photos himself.
Okay.
And neither boy told Mark, or anyone for that matter, what they had seen.
How could you bring that up? Yeah.
I don't even know how you have the words. I don't even know how your mouth forms the words. I could barely do it.
Yeah.
Sitting here.
Yeah.
Poop quiz.
Oh, shit. Wow. How excited were you to say that? Oh, man. I'm excited. I'm retroactively excited for you. There's nothing like having something locked and loaded like that.
I forgot. So I just saw it. What is the official name of the sexual fetish involving eating feces?
Okay.
A, fecophilia.
Mm-hmm.
B, coprophagia. C, excrementism.
Coprophagia?
Yeah. Did you know that somehow?
Well,
you were pretty confident and you were correct.
Fecophilia is not a thing.
Oh.
I know that. I would have heard of that before.
Why?
I just feel like it's not like it's I don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that it's like it's got a name. So enough people do it that they had to label it.
Well, it's a derivative of coprophilia, which is an umbrella fetish whose name originates from the Greek words kopros, meaning excrement, and philia, meaning fondness.
Coprophagia.
Mm-hmm. So coprophilia...
Sounds like a cheese.
Coprophilia has some street names as well, depending on the specific practices. For example, the
Cleveland steamer?
Yes. For example, the Cleveland steamer refers to someone defecating on their partner's chest. Hot Carl, aka hot sasser, variously means an act of defecating on one sexual partner, defecating on someone who is asleep, or defecating on someone's face while covered in plastic wrap.
Okay, at least it's plastic. Oh my God.
And the dirty Sanchez is a supposed sex act which consists of feces purposely being smeared onto a partner's upper lip, you fucking freak.
Been around, I know some things.
Good God. Now, clearly the world of kink extends as widely as the human imagination allows.
Yes, it does.
If you can think it, you can kink it.
Oh, man.
Pretty sick.
Merch.
But eating one's own shit, even for very accepting, non-judgmental people, is a lot.
Yeah.
According to an article in the National Library of Medicine, coprophagia, considered to be a variant of pica. You know what pica is? Pica's eating things that are inedible. So,
I ate my couch.
Exactly right. So coprophagia is a rare and distressing disorder, according to this article, characterized by the compulsive consumption of feces. While numerous case studies have documented this condition, a comprehensive understanding and effective management plan remains elusive, particularly because it often coexists with other neurological and psychological comorbidities. Shit.
Wow, you did it again?
Yes.
Oh my God, I thought that was a joke.
No, my mouth just doesn't know how to say it right.
Comorbidity bubbity boo.
Such as seizure disorders, cerebral atrophy, and tumors.
Oh.
And it also has comorbidities with psychiatric disorders like intellectual disabilities, alcoholism, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, delirium, dementia is a big one, and just various
dementia?
fetishes. Yeah.
So if I get that, I might...
It's a possibility.
Wind up.
It's a possibility. So obviously... I'm actually glad you said that because it's not to suggest that if you have any of the aforementioned, conditions that you are likely to also develop, coprophilia. But
I feel like if you have dementia, it's not a kink.
No, it is not a kink. But this article is saying is that it's a disorder.
Yeah. Okay.
Given the serious health risks associated with coprophagia, a variety of pharmacological and behavioral interventions are available. And these include the use of antipsychotic agents and mood stabilizers, as well as therapeutic interventions. The time of resolution of symptoms has been reported to range from a minimum of 6 weeks to a maximum of 22 weeks.
On medicine?
Correct.
Okay.
So according to somebody named Gigi Engel, who's a certified sex educator and author, many may not be aware that the scat fetishes align with other forms of humiliation and submission play. It's not terribly uncommon.
No.
The appeal of humiliation lies in its requirement for the receiver to fully surrender control, providing a profound sense of release. Humiliation is also considered one of the most intense human emotions, activating brain regions similar to those affected by physical pain.
Humiliation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Engaging in such extreme emotional experiences, including pain, allows individuals to immerse themselves fully in the moment, shedding any everyday concerns during sexual activities.
Have you ever been humiliated?
In a sexual context?
No, just in any context.
Yeah, I tried to hug a rabbi.
Oh, yeah. You remember that feeling pretty well, don't you?
He elbowed me in front of a room full of people. So, yeah, I've been humiliated.
That feeling is terrible.
It's awful, but I don't...
No, I'm not saying they're related. It's just all intense,
it was intense, yes.
All intense feelings are somewhat related on the back end of the brain structure. I don't know how or whatever, but like they're all a degree away from each other.
Right.
Probably a lot to do with context.
Mm-hmm.
And humiliation is like it's like one or two above the lowest, which I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't humiliation, it was rejection.
Mm-hmm.
But public rejection, humiliation, you were rejected by him.
Yes.
And that was humiliating.
Yes.
It's a bad feeling.
Yeah, it is. And it was very intense, so much so that I still consider it one of the most humiliating things that ever happened to me, and it happened 15 years ago.
Yeah, but I can see that I don't even know what I'm about to do right now. I can see wanting to recreate that feeling.
So I understand when you experience any human emotion on an intensity level that it impacts you profoundly.
Yeah.
If it correlates, I guess, sexually, as it does for some people, then the desire to recreate that, it's the same desire maybe people without that fetish have just having regular sex. They want to recreate that good feeling.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting, like human psychology, when you break it down, because obviously on the surface it seems like, and it is, but like a very foul fetish. But when you break it down, you understand like sort of where it's coming from. The act of engaging with feces, and this is along the lines of what we're talking about, taps into deeply ingrained societal and childhood lessons about sex and hygiene, or even profound religious teachings regarding sex, virginity, and purity. So Gigi Engel explains that for these individuals, participating in what is conventionally seen as taboo or unclean can serve as a form of rebellion against the messages they received in their youth about how sex can taint or diminish one's worth.
Yep.
So engaging in an act considered dirty or repulsive, yet still being desired by their partners in that state can offer a potent and fulfilling experience, effectively challenging and reframing those early beliefs.
Yeah.
Pop quiz.
Poop quiz.
I thought about it, but I don't know if I could have.
This will be the last time. Poop quiz Number 2.
Oh.
And I'm done.
That was so good.
I had that one locked and loaded, ready to go. I was excited. Yeah.
That was very good.
Yeah.
According to a 1999 study of 164 males in Finland from 2 S&M clubs, what percentage of men engaged in coprophilia? So not eating feces, just being sexually involved with it.
Okay.
A, 3%.
Okay.
B, 18%. C, 30%.
Oh. This is hard. 3%.
Take some Miralax.
Did you see my post today?
No.
Oh, that's so funny. Plugged in.
OMG.
I wrote, I'm about to take Miralax and Imodium at the same time and let them fight it out in my body. I'll let you know who comes out on top.
That's funny. No, I didn't see that. But.
Okay, so 3%, 18%, or 30% of an already smaller population.
Of 164
sample.
Males who engage in S&M. How many have engaged with poop, goddammit? Pick an answer. Let's move on.
3%.
No.
Okay. Aren't you happy that I was wrong?
No.
18%?
Yes.
Okay.
I like when you get pop quizzes right, by the way.
Not this one.
No, if it's answers that I make up, then I get a little bit proud when you get it wrong.
Yeah.
But if it's statistics, yeah.
18 is high.
18% of straight men involved in the study and 17% of gay men had tried coprophilia, showing, which this was my whole point, no statistically significant difference between sexual orientations and the engagement with poop in sex.
Just to tell you why I was so fascinated with the percentage of the general population, because I'm thinking if it's 1% of the general population, I know a lot of people.
Yeah, some of them are getting down with the stank.
That's wild. Nobody's ever brought it up to me before.
Consider yourself lucky.
Okay.
What?
I will. Because I thought about the alternative and I'd rather not know.
Exactly.
Just like this kid finding his dad doing it. Like, I'm sure he would have rather not known.
Right. I think probably it's never been suggested to you because you're attracted to people who are similar to you. I mean, not that they're not going to introduce you to kinks, but that's a real extreme one. It's like we always say when people find each other, like a serial killing partner. Not that people who are into scat play are serial killers, but
as an example.
I'm just saying as an example, we're always amazed that they find each other, but it's like, well, they were, drawn to each other. It probably built up to that. They probably had little jokes here and there to begin with to gauge each other's comfort. And then it built. And then they realized they had the same absolute horrific.
Well, it's a kink within a kink.
Exactly. So I think that exactly right.
Yeah.
You have an idea. You're already sort of engaged in like the step 1.
Yes. You're already on, not that you're on your way, but you're in rare air already.
Right. You're in the game. As adults, we have a difficult time even just imagining someone willing to consume their own feces. But to imagine Dylan, a 13-year-old boy, seeing multiple images of his own father engaging in this act is traumatizing, to say the least.
And was he like alone in the pictures?
The father, yes.
Just like doing it on
And they
his
were
own.
like, the thing of it is too, first of all.
That's how you know you got a problem, by the way.
Oh, you're doing it alone?
You're drinking alone, you eating your own shit alone, nobody in the room to witness it with you?
Yeah, and it's kind of, it's an interesting question. Why was he taking photos? It was selfies is what it was. He was taking selfies. It was, was it because he wanted to look at them and relive that sexual high? Was he sharing it with someone? Is there a community of people doing this? And again, I don't know. I don't kink shame at all, but that was a hard pill to swallow, seeing those pictures.
Well, 13-year-olds don't know about not kink shaming.
Well, of course. No, I'm saying me personally. But for
they don't
Dylan,
have enough experience.
Right. So there was a lot happening in this picture, too, for Dylan to absorb. He was wearing a diaper.
Yeah.
That was dirty. He was eating it. He was in, sexy lingerie, lipstick. He was provocative. He was like licking his lips in front of the picture, like the whole scene for this child to have to try to process. I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
After that shocking, life-changing experience, Corey, Dylan's older brother, opted out of the next visit with Mark, which took place in August of 2012. But Dylan was forced to go, as was mandated by the court and Mark's visitation rights.
Oh, and he didn't tell anybody, so nobody was like, hey, you don't have to go.
Exactly, which is something I imagine his mother has to live with, because he did resist going to see his father. But the mother was told, which we're going to get into, by her attorney, there will be legal repercussions if he doesn't go. There will be fallout. He has to go. During that second visit, or I should say during that first visit after Dylan saw the pictures, Mark and Dylan took another road trip together to see the Chicago White Sox and the Boston Red Sox. In fact, when Dylan's mutilated body was eventually discovered after his brutal murder, he was found wearing the White Sox t-shirt that he'd gotten during that trip. But while Dylan was on that trip with Mark, he asked Corey to send the photos of Mark to Mark's phone while he was there. Dylan asked Corey, he said, hey, I'm with Dad. Yeah. You're not here because you're old enough to resist this horrible, visit. Yeah. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to send Dad the pictures. Okay? Because apparently Mark had been bad-mouthing Dylan's mother, Elaine, and Corey to Dylan the entire visit. And Dylan couldn't bear the disrespect to his mother and his brother a moment longer. So he asked Corey to send Mark the photos so that he could, quote, show Papa who he really is.
Why? Because
Mark was shit-talking Elaine and Corey the whole visit, and Dylan wanted to be like, you think you're so great? You think you're so much better? Disgusting. Look at you. Look what you're doing here.
So then Corey had to out himself as knowing about it as well.
Right. So Corey didn't do this. He didn't.
Okay.
In that moment, he did not feel comfortable sending Mark the pictures of Mark.
Yes.
Despite Dylan's insistence, because he worried, rightfully so, about how Mark would handle the fact that his sons knew about this fetish condition, and that not only had they seen the photographs, but that they had copies of the photographs. He didn't know how Mark would react, and that was the correct instinct. And for a little while, Corey resisted sending the photos, but eventually he acquiesced to Dylan's incessant requests, and he wound up texting the disgusting photographs to Mark's phone, calling him, quote-unquote, shit-eater, while insisting you are what you eat. Ooh. In response to those messages, Mark responded via text to Corey by threatening the following, quote, you wouldn't want me to do anything to hurt Dylan, would you? However, Corey kept checking in with Dylan for the rest of that trip. And at that point on that trip, Dylan remained safe, as Mark did not yet realize that Dylan had seen the photos too.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, after that visit ended, Dylan flew back home to his mother.
Made it home.
Yep.
Okay.
But between that trip, which was August 2012, and Dylan's next visit, which was November 2012, over Thanksgiving break, Mark's anxiety intensified about who else might have seen those photographs. And similarly, the more and more time that poor Dylan had to attempt to process what he'd seen, the more and more agitated and uncomfortable he became. He begged Elaine, his mother, to allow him to skip the next visit with his father.
Yeah, all visits.
All visits, but he never told her why. And again, Elaine's attorney told her that she could possibly face prosecution if Dylan did not fly out to see his father. So she more or less required that he go. Which
understandable,
by the way.
Understandable
100% from her perspective.
She was doing the best she could with the tools she had at the time.
Yeah, she was following the law.
Had she known, do you think she would have sent him if she knew?
No.
Would it become illegal for her to keep him home knowing this?
Oh, knowing the photographs?
Yeah.
I think she would have had a leg to stand on. I think she could have gone back to her attorney and said, I don't feel safe or comfortable, and my son feels uncomfortable and unsafe. And I think it would have been a discussion, and I don't know that she would have been prosecuted at that moment. I think if you have some form of evidence, which I would argue this was evidence, that
it's not a great environment.
That it's not a great environment, I think then I don't know that she would have been held legally accountable in that moment for not sending her son. And I think the decision to send him that November haunts her every single day of her shattered life. Because devastatingly, Dylan would never return. On November 18th, 2012, Mark picked up Dylan at the Durango-La Plata County Airport. Surveillance videos from both the airport and a nearby Walmart captured the two of them together and their interactions, which were noticeably distant and minimal. You could see Dylan walking, many feet away from his father. And that video footage would be the last time that Dylan would ever be seen alive again. Now, according to text messages between Mark and Dylan prior to his arrival, Dylan asked Mark if he could sleep at a friend's house that night once he arrived, but Mark refused to allow it because remember, Dylan was born and initially raised in that area, so he still had childhood friends.
Yeah.
Mark insisted that Dylan needed to stay with him in his home. Dylan's last phone activity or communication with anyone was at 9:37 p.m. the same evening that he arrived. And that was between him and a friend. His friend was basically saying, can you sleep over? And Dylan was writing back that he wasn't allowed.
Oh, he was? That was like a real thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
On November 19th, which was the next day, Dylan made arrangements to meet his friend at 6:30 a.m., but he failed to appear. His friend texted him at 6:46 a.m. asking, where are you? But received no reply. Mark later reported that Dylan left the house at 7:30 a.m. to run some errands in the area. Okay. And according to Mark, that was the last time he had seen his son.
So Dylan had plans to meet somebody at 6:30.
Yep.
His dad is saying he left at 7:30.
Right.
Discrepancy number one.
Correct.
Okay.
Mark, too, had gone out that morning. And upon returning home at 11:30, discovered that Dylan still was not home. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dylan left at 7:30, according to Mark, and he was not back by 11:30 when he came back from running his errands.
Okay.
Furthermore, the television was left on Nickelodeon, and Dylan's fishing pole and backpack were missing. He contacted Dylan's friends and then informed Dylan's mother of the situation via text, saying, it's been a bunch of hours. The TV was left on. His fishing pole is gone. I don't know where he went. He probably went fishing, but he's not back yet.
The fact that he put on Nickelodeon as a cover.
You're so smart. You're so smart, Hank.
So stupid, though. It's like, what do these fucking kids watch today? Nickelodeon? It
is what immediately raised a red flag for Elaine because Dylan watched MTV by this age, not Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And Dylan was not a big fisher at all. As Elaine later indicated, quote, he doesn't even know his kid well enough to make up a good lie. By 6 p.m., with still no sign of Dylan, Mark finally called the police to report his son missing, prompting the initiation of a 4-day search and rescue effort. Dylan's brother, Corey, also led search parties with people on foot, some on ATVs, some on horse, some on rope rappelling down the mountain.
In Colorado, this is happening.
November.
A lot of places to...
a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
Worth noting that Mark attempted to direct all search parties to the area around the Mountain Lake Dam, which was about 7 miles away from where the search parties were looking. Mm-hmm. Okay, so clearly what are we seeing here? He's trying to send them in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It was during this search, however, that a size 7 youth Nike Air Jordan was discovered, which belonged to Dylan, and which was seen on him in the surveillance footage taken from Walmart. Okay?
Boy.
The next 2 days between November 24th and November 25th, investigator Karen Guman, a former police officer with nearly 30 years' experience in Madison, Wisconsin, and founder of Canine Search Solutions, brought her Cadaver dog, Molly, to assist in the investigation of Dylan Redwine's disappearance at this point. In fact, 35 dog handlers and cadaver dogs were involved in the investigation to some degree. Dogs have around 220 million olfactory receptors in their noses, which is much more than the 5 million receptors in a human nose.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Dogs' sense of smell is about 1,000 times more sensitive than a human's, and their olfactory bulbs can be up to 30 times larger.
You would think they have better memories then.
Because scent is affiliated with memory? Interesting. Maybe they do, though.
I just learned something yesterday, which I don't know if it's true or not. I did see it on Instagram. I'm not going to lie and say it was an article.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm so glad to hear you say that, actually.
But there was something was alluded to about your dog knowing approximately when you should be home from work.
You sent that to me.
Because of how much of your scent is left in the house.
Incredible.
So like as it fades, they're like, oh, she's going to be home soon.
Right. I doubt they're sitting at the window for 8 hours straight.
No, they're not.
They jump probably like when you're almost home, maybe. And that's likely the reason.
They smell you coming from down the block.
Oh my God, Cashy, I'm coming soon. I have a pop quiz.
Okay.
What is the accuracy rate of a well-trained cadaver dog?
Accuracy defined how?
The success rate of...
Oh, okay, like...
finding what they're looking for.
Okay, got it.
A, 55 to 58%.
Mm-hmm.
B, 75 to 78%. C, 95 to 98%. Sorry, Tank.
No, I'm just, I was feeling something that I can't describe because I'm going to pick C because that's what I want it to be.
You are correct.
95 to 98.
Yeah, they're so badass.
Dogs?
They're so fucking badass. They really are.
It's hard to argue with dogs because they don't have ulterior motives.
They don't have skin in the game.
Yeah.
During the investigation, Molly, the cadaver dog, signaled the presence of human remains multiple times near the garage on the exterior of Mark Redwine's home.
Okay, so forget about the dam. Back to the home.
Once inside the home, Molly alerted to the scent of human remains in 7 different locations on the main floor of the house, including near a wood stove, in a bedroom, on a brown sofa, by a washing machine, and elsewhere.
Does it have to be remains or is it blood?
My understanding with cadaver dogs, exactly, they could be. You could put them on the scent of blood or you can put them on the scent of decomposition.
Okay.
She also detected the odor of human remains in the back of Mark's Dodge pickup truck and on his clothing, which was worn the night before Dylan disappeared.
Molly did?
Yes.
Sounds like a good girl.
She's a very good girl. Molly further indicated the presence of human remains on 12 locations near Middle Mountain Road. Based on these findings, investigators deployed divers and sonar equipment to search Vallecito Lake for Dylan's remains, which did not yield any results. But her beak was onto something.
So it's a lot of different places.
Yeah.
That's indicative of a huge problem.
Very much so.
Yeah.
On November 26, 2012, with search and rescue operations continuing, the FBI officially joined the effort. Dylan's mother, Elaine, apparently told ABC News Radio that she suspected her ex-husband, Mark, of being involved in their son's disappearance, explaining how upset and angry Mark was that she had been granted primary custody of Dylan. So she feels, based on this, that he had some kind of premeditated plan to take out Dylan in an effort to get back at Elaine for getting sole custody.
At this point, had Corey told his mother about the photos?
My understanding is no.
Okay.
But soon. Okay. She did find out.
Okay.
By this point, you know what? I'm going to go back on that. I don't have the exact date of when she was told, but I do know that she was told because something's going to come up soon that I'm going to talk about, and she straight up confronted him about the pictures.
Okay.
But first, November 29th, 2012, what I want to do now is just kind of give you a timeline.
Yeah.
The La Plata County Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant at Mark's home. And during the search, investigators reportedly discovered traces of Dylan's blood. However, at the time, there was no additional forensic evidence to provide a definitive link to a crime. Blood evidence alone, while significant, can be considered circumstantial because it doesn't always prove how or when an incident occurred or if an incident occurred.
Yeah.
In fact, when asked about Dylan's blood and how it had gotten there, Mark maintained that Dylan had a cold sore in his mouth that was quote-unquote oozing blood. However, photographs provided by Elaine, taken just a day or two before his visit to Mark, showed Dylan hanging out with 2 of his friends back home without any cold sores in sight. Mark then changed his story to say that Dylan busted a lip while the 2 of them were tossing a football around the house together, like a wholesome father and son duo.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
We were throwing shit back and forth between us. Footballs of shit.
Bricks of shit.
It was dry, though. I hate this guy, by the way.
Oh, he is
so
hateable.
Yeah. I feel bad making fun of him for being a piece of shit. Yes, I did.
You went there.
I did.
According to former FBI agent Jonathan Grossing, who had executed the search warrant, any sort of emotion that Mark attempted to portray, whether it be concern, sadness, etc., seemed completely staged. And sadly, 15 months went by without any sign of young Dylan Redwine anywhere.
God, that's a long time
to not have answers.
And to instinctively know the answer, but not have.
To know the answer, and you know something was wrong. You found his sneaker. There was blood in the house. Nothing conclusive to point to anyone, but you know who it is.
Yeah.
And you know that something happened.
Yeah.
This prompted Elaine and Mark to appear on the Dr. Phil show on February 26th, 2013, where Mark refused to take a polygraph test.
Before he was found, they went on the Dr. Phil show?
Yep, because 15 months went by, and Elaine especially was trying to keep momentum going and to keep people searching, to keep her son's picture out in the ether.
Yeah.
So they went on Dr. Phil. According to Dr. Phil, Mark Redwine was the only father, at least at that time, who refused to take a polygraph test while their child was missing. While on the Dr. Phil show, Elaine confronted Mark with a heated accusation, demanding to know the whereabouts of her son and publicly alleging Mark's involvement in his disappearance. Mark, in turn, used the platform to deny the authenticity of the incriminating photographs that Dylan and Corey found on his computer and that Dr. Phil brought up.
So at some point, sometime between the time he goes missing and Dr. Phil,
Elaine was
shared.
Yes, Elaine was told about the photographs.
Okay. Dr. Phil pulled them up?
He didn't show them.
Yeah.
But he referred to them.
Okay.
Mark insisted that the disturbing images, again, showing him wearing makeup, a red bra, a soiled diaper, and smearing shit all over his face and
Mark,
inside his mouth.
I'm just trying to understand here why you are not taking a polygraph, and we have pictures of you.
Wait, you ready? Why?
Eating your own.
Would you take your own feces and smear it on your face?
And then kill your son.
Why, Mark?
2 separate topics, but I'd like to.
Elaine deserves to know.
It's good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was the one doing the impression.
I took it from you.
You took it hard.
I know. I ran with it.
I should have done this. Now, Mark, trying to get some clarity here.
Very funny. So Mark was addressing the photographs and he was claiming that they were fabricated.
On the show.
Correct.
Okay.
Mark emphasized that despite the image bearing his likeness, it was deliberately manipulated.
Yeah.
He clarified that although the face was his, he had intentionally created the hideous scenario of eating shit wearing a diaper as a trap. Because Mark explained that the setup was a response to Elaine and Corey, whom he accused of breaking into his home and rummaging through his personal belongings. So by staging the photos, he aimed to catch them in the act of violating his privacy and to force an admission that they'd been unlawfully viewing his possessions. You see, basically, he's like, I'm going to plant these disgusting photos because there's no way they're going to be able to keep this to themselves. And when they turn around and they say, what the hell were those photos? I'm going to be like, see? You have been going through my stuff.
Yeah, see, I mean, it took you 15 months to come up with that.
Piece of shit story,
yeah.
Right.
He's like, I wasn't wearing that shirt.
Right.
It wasn't me. I was wearing a black shirt.
But sadly, unfortunately, this is exactly when Elaine knew in her heart of hearts that Dylan was for sure dead. Because the accusation and story devised by Mark was so outlandish, it could only mean that he was attempting to hide an even bigger, darker truth.
Yep.
Another 4 months passed by as the investigation continued to progress. And sure enough, on June 27th, 2013, cadaver dogs discovered 2 human bones on an ATV trail north of Vallecito Lake, approximately 10 miles from Mark Redwine's home, which, as confirmed by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, belonged to Dylan Redwine. A law enforcement agent named investigator Tanya Galbraith also found a 3rd bone. She actually called Mark to inform him of the discovery of his son's bones, but Mark went off on a rant about how women are only good for one thing, and it's not cooking and cleaning. And I've heard this phone interview. It's ridiculous. He then told investigator Galbraith that she should, quote, pull her head out of the sociopath's ass, and that he didn't think she was capable of handling the investigation. He's not making sense. Mark taunted investigator Galbraith, saying that finding a few bones didn't constitute finding Dylan. Meanwhile, you would think he would be thrilled / heartbroken
Yeah.
that remains were found, thrilled because you maybe have a little bit of closure if you're not involved. And obviously, broken because it means your son is dead.
I mean, that must have sent their spidey senses. Sorry, can't do it. Through the roof.
Yeah.
You're investigating, you're searching for a missing person. You find bones, and the dad goes, that doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean you found Dylan.
Yeah.
It does, though.
Why aren't you falling on the floor?
And why isn't this blowing your mind?
Yeah.
Like, as the investigator, she could not wait to bring some information to the parent.
Why aren't you staring at this bone projectile crying right now?
Exactly. Yeah. Very telling. Following the discovery of Dylan's remains, his half-brother, Brandon Redwine, who lived in Nevada, allegedly had a conversation with Mark, who's his father, in which Mark randomly mentioned blunt force trauma several times throughout their conversation and said passionately that investigators, quote, would have to find the rest of the body, including the skull, before they could determine if this was the cause of death. This struck Brandon as unusual.
Wait, Mark said that to Brandon?
Yeah. Just in the course of telling Brandon, hey, they found a few of your brother's bones.
Yeah.
Randomly brought up, but they're going to have to find the rest of the body, to prove blunt force trauma. And what? Who said anything about blunt force trauma, Mark?
Yeah.
Right?
Guilty conscience.
And Brandon apparently told his wife, which he later testified to in court, that, quote, Mark's telling me what happened. Eventually, in November 2015, almost 3 years after Dylan first disappeared, his skull was discovered by hikers nearly 2 miles away from where his other remains had been found. According to forensic...
I wonder if there was like an animal.
Very, very, very good thought. And that is what the defense really relied heavily upon, which obviously we're going to get to.
Yeah.
But smart that that's where your mind went. According to forensic anthropologist Diane France, who conducted the autopsy, Dylan suffered a 1.6-inch long skull fracture above his left eye and had also been cut with a sharp tool around the time he had died.
1.6 inches?
Yep.
That's a big crack.
Yes, it is. According to this forensic anthropologist, quote, you could have something blunt hitting the cranium or the cranium hitting something blunt. That said, during trial on cross-examination, this forensic anthropologist, Diane France, admitted that she couldn't pinpoint the cause of the fracture and could not completely rule out that the fracture didn't happen if or when an animal, like a cow, which are common in that area where the cranium was found, stepped on Dylan's skull.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking since they were found so far away from each other, like...
It carried it.
And that did not in any way mean that Mark did not kill him. It's just like you leave a dead body in the forest, animals are going to eat it. Big grizzly bears are going to probably take it places with them.
Right. Again, when we talk about the trial, we get into it a little bit more because the defense leans heavily on that.
Yeah.
In addition to the fracture, 2 small straight lines on Dylan's cranium, the partial skull that was recovered anyway, were made by a sharp tool, not by animal teeth, according to Diane France. Knife or tool marks leave a V-shaped indentation in bone, France said, while animal teeth create U-shaped marks. So the 2 straight marks on Dylan's cranium, which are each thinner than a millimeter, left V-shape indentations.
Millimeter?
But again, she could not identify what instrument made the marks.
But she knew it was an instrument, not an animal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Needless to say, 5 years now after Dylan first went missing, Mark was finally arrested on July 22nd, 2017 in Bellingham, Washington, where he'd been working as a trucker, and he was charged with second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death. Mark was then extradited to Colorado to await trial, which was postponed 3 separate times over the course of a 3-year period. I'm not sure why it was postponed the first time in 2018, but the second time in 2019 was because his attorney was arrested for assault and domestic violence.
Oh, wow.
And the third time was due to COVID, the COVID pandemic in 2020.
Okay.
When the trial finally commenced in July 2021, 9 years after Dylan Redwine's unthinkable murder, 9 years, he would have been 22. The prosecution and defense called dozens of witnesses, ranging from search and rescue personnel to the couple who found Dylan's skull while hiking on Middle Mountain in November of 2015. In terms of motive, prosecutors argued that Mark Redwine killed his son after the boy confronted him about the lewd photos discovered on Mark's computer. They went on to present evidence to reflect the timeline of what happened and Mark's attempt to cover his tracks. So let's examine some key evidence presented by the prosecution during the trial. A critical point of contention was a fishing pole that Mark reported missing from his home, suggesting that Dylan had left voluntarily to go fishing, okay? Wearing shorts and a t-shirt, mind you, because that's what was discovered on his remains.
In November.
Yeah. And remember— In Colorado, for a boy who didn't even care about fishing.
Yeah.
According to the prosecution, Mark mentioned the missing fishing pole to mislead the search parties and to divert them to areas around the lake and dam, knowing damn well that the remains would be in the mountains. After much time was wasted in these areas, Mark suddenly claimed that he found the fishing pole in his garage. This was deemed impossible by the FBI because they'd thoroughly searched and photographed the garage without finding any fishing pole. This indicated that Mark had initially hidden the fishing pole to redirect the search party away from the mountains where he concealed the remains. The reason for his later decision to then plant the fishing pole in the garage remains unclear, but it may have been either a foolish oversight or a deliberate attempt to manipulate and control the investigation, with Mark thinking that he was constantly in charge.
He's stupid.
And he's dumb as shit. Pun intended.
It's like stealing something from somebody and them noticing it, calling it out, not you out necessarily. You start to feel, shit, maybe I don't know, what am I even going to do with this? So you put it back somewhere where they obviously would have found it the first time and go, oh, you must have missed it.
Right.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Right.
You stole it, right?
Right. Dylan's phone and iPod were last used to text a friend, as I mentioned, at 9:37 p.m. on November 18th, 2012, the night before he was reported missing. The following day, Mark sent Dylan 4 text messages and made multiple calls, feigning concern and ignorance about his son's whereabouts. During the trial, Upper Pine River Deputy Fire Chief Roy Vreeland testified that Mark Redwine turned off his house lights at 11 p.m. the night of Dylan's disappearance. Vreeland noted that this behavior was extremely unusual, stating, quote, most people tend to turn every light on and to make their house a beacon so that a missing person, whether it's a spouse or a child, could find their way home.
Yeah.
The prosecution also recreated, this was so interesting, Mark Redwine's living room in a room in the courthouse down the hall and brought the jury in so that they could see with their own eyes what human blood on couches and a wood floor and a coffee table looks like.
Yeah. In addition, just real quick, sorry to cut you off,
That's okay.
but more than a beacon, I found out multiple people have died in the late hours of the night. You're not going to bed.
No.
There's no way you're going to bed. And you want it. You don't even instinctually, you're like, the beacon thing doesn't make sense to me. I don't mean to challenge that expert on it, but unless you're in like a remote area.
No, I think it does make sense. This is why, for the same reason, somebody should always be in the home waiting when somebody goes missing, because in case they come back, you want to make it as easy as possible. It's nighttime. I'm going to leave the lights on all night.
True. Let them know I'm up.
A moth to a flame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let them know I'm awake and ready.
You're obviously going to ace my pop quiz in like two seconds based on what you just said. But first, just want to continue talking about how like the prosecution staged Mark Redwine's house. It was fascinating. They literally rebuilt his living room in an extra room in the courthouse and brought the jury in to show them what blood would look like on a couch, on a love seat, on a coffee table. Mm-hmm. Again, it didn't necessarily mean that Dylan was killed there, but it was strong enough evidence to make the jury think and feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And the final witness to testify for the prosecution was FBI agent John Grusing, who brought which of the following facts to light?
Okay.
Pop quiz.
Pop quiz.
After Dylan was reported missing, Mark took a 45-minute nap. B, internet searches on Mark's phone the day after Dylan went missing showed him looking for rom-coms to watch. C, Mark sold his truck the day after Molly the cadaver dog signaled a trained final response for the scent of decomposition.
A?
Yeah.
How did they know he took a nap?
I think he gave his account of where he was and what he was doing. And
he told them he took a nap?
Yeah, because he's an idiot. And he probably thought that he was showing them, I wasn't out hiding remains. I was sleeping. I was napping at this time.
Well, that's even more abnormal, sir.
It's even more fucked up. Your son's gone. In terms of the defense, they obviously attempted to rebut many of the arguments that were made by the prosecution and their experts. They called a witness named Dr. Bruce Anderson who testified that it wasn't clear when Dylan's skull fracture occurred and that it was possible it could have been 2 to 3 weeks after his death.
The defense called this expert.
Right.
Okay.
He also said it's unclear if the skull fracture played a role in how the boy died. Also testifying on behalf of Mark Redwine was his ex-girlfriend named Karen Alexander, who stated that she didn't think he killed Dylan and that she'd seen Dylan bleed in Mark's living room when she visited in 2011.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I've seen him bleed. I know he's got blood.
Right. He's got blood in him, and Mark has a living room.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Case closed. While we're on the topic of ex-partners, Dylan's mother, Mark's ex-wife, Elaine, testified as well.
I can't wait to watch this Dr. Phil episode, by the way.
Oh, my God. It's wild. I just want to hug Dylan's mother the entire time.
Yeah.
Elaine maintained that the moment she received a text message from Mark at 4:32 p.m. on November 19th, so the day he went missing, saying that he couldn't find Dylan, she suspected his involvement in foul play. In fact, she texted Mark back saying, quote, I am so suspect of you right now. How could he just go missing? According to court transcripts, Mark told Elaine that he'd reported Dylan missing at the marshal's office. However, when Elaine called the marshal's office, she learned that there was no record or report made about Dylan being missing. In terms of why Dylan's head, when it was finally discovered, was found so far away from his body, well, the defense claimed it must have been due to animal activity, as you suggested, Tank, since, Mark was innocent and all that, right? But an expert on animal behavior said bears were likely in hibernation during November 2012, and it's unlikely that the skull would have been carried so far away from the rest of the body. Usually a bear or a mountain lion, which is very prominent in that area, will only move their prey about a quarter of a mile, and the skull was found nearly 2 miles away from the rest of the body.
Yep.
I want to pivot for a second here to discuss filicide.
Okay.
Not a great conversation.
No, it's terrible.
Instances where parents kill their children are deeply shocking and seem inexplicable. A study published in the March edition of Forensic Science International offers the first comprehensive statistical analysis of filicide in the United States. The study analyzes 32 years of data involving over 15,000 arrests and examines potential psychiatric and biological factors behind such acts. The data in the study, first published online in January 2014, comes from the U.S. FBI's Supplementary Homicide Reports database, 632,017 arrests made. The database includes information on the ages, gender, and races of the victims and alleged offenders, as well as the means employed to commit the murders. Over time, the total number of cases in the country has remained relatively stable at around 500 a year. Close to 3/4 of the children killed were age 6 or younger. 1/3 were infants or babies, less than 1 year of age. Only about 10% of children killed were between ages 7 and 18. And adult offspring were the balance of the victims. Male children were more likely to be killed than female children, 58.3%. And overall, fathers were the accused murderers 57.4% of the time of all the killings.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a crazy disparity to me.
Yeah.
58 versus 42.
Right. I guess it's not crazy.
That's half of that, probably 90% of that is just demographics.
Right.
Probably
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Additionally, the data allowed the researchers to determine the most common filicide scenarios. A father killing a son was the most likely scenario. A mother killing a son follows. A mother was slightly more likely to kill a daughter than a father was. And the rarest instances were stepmothers killing a stepchild.
What about father killing their daughter?
That's less likely than a mother killing a daughter.
I know you didn't say it. I was waiting.
I did. I said that a mother was slightly more likely to kill a daughter than a father was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fathers killing daughters is just from the dads that I know that have daughters, they don't even they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Barely discipline them.
I was so Firefighter Dave always says, he's like, thank God we never had a daughter because I would be completely unable to parent.
Do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
We went to our son's jiu-jitsu award ceremony, and there was a little girl, and she was in a gi, but she had pink Uggs on.
Oh my God.
And oh my God. It was just so funny because we only have boys, obviously. And I said to Dave, I'm like, if we had a daughter, joking, I'm like, this would be the scene, right? Because she would probably still be into everything that you're into. And his eyes welled up. Even just thinking about it, I'm like, thank God we never had girls.
Yeah.
You could not handle life.
No.
And lastly, in terms of this absolutely horrific study that I really want to stop talking about, is that researchers found that the most common method of killing was with personal weapons, such as by beating, choking, or drowning of victims. Parents use these means in 69% of murders of infants, and as victims aged, firearms were more and more common. Across the board, parents rarely used contact weapons such as a bat or edged weapons such as a knife. In the end, after an emotional 5-week trial and 6 hours of deliberation, a jury found Mark Redwine guilty of second-degree murder and child abuse.
Right.
Judge Jeffrey Wilson sentenced him to 48 years behind bars and made the following statement at sentencing. Quote, I have trouble remembering a criminal defendant who has shown such an utter lack of remorse. This leads me to believe that you need significant punishment and you need to be removed from society for a long period of time.
Yeah.
End quote. Elaine has expressed her belief that Mark deserves to die a death as horrible as the one he forced her son to endure. Through tears at the sentencing hearing, she said that it breaks her heart to think about her little boy looking up at his father and knowing he's a killer, and worse, that he's, quote, my killer.
Oh, I know. It's horrible.
Dylan's brother, Corey, said at the sentencing hearing that the 9 years since his brother's death had been nothing short of misery. Over the years, he said he thought about what he could have done to protect Dylan from his own father. I can't bring Dylan back, Corey told the judge. I can't talk to Dylan, so I pray to him. I dream of him. Dylan is my hero and became more of a man in 13 years than Mark became in 60.
Wow.
Of course, when Mark was asked if he had anything to say at all, he replied, no, Your Honor, I do not. Pussy. Elaine mentioned that throughout the trial, she intentionally made consistent eye contact with her son's killer, refusing to look away, refusing to give him any sense of power, control, or let him have the intimidation in the room. And for me, these small acts of defiance in cases like this are everything.
Yeah.
It's like Rebecca Aylward, the case we covered in Wales, the 15-year-old who was killed by her boyfriend, and her mother at trial threw daggers at her killer, Joshua Davies, the entire time. And she said it was her goal to make him feel uncomfortable every second he was sitting in that courtroom.
Yeah.
Elaine had the following words to say about her little boy, Dylan, which I'd like to leave off on so that we can remember who Dylan Redwine was in life.
Please do.
And this is coming from Elaine. He was sweet, funny, charismatic, and deeply empathetic. He genuinely cared about people and their feelings. He was truly a very, very sweet boy. And that's where her statement ends. And I just want to finish by saying, before Dylan boarded the plane, leaving the safety of his mother for the uncertainty awaiting with his father, he gave Elaine one final hug. It was the last hug she would ever receive from him, the last time she would feel the warmth of her child's embrace, and the last moment she would see him alive. This farewell marked an unbearably heartbreaking threshold in their lives, a moment forever etched in the memory as the stark before and after of unimaginable loss.
Yes.
Each day, Elaine grapples with the pain of Dylan's absence, yet remains committed to celebrating his life, no matter how tragically brief it was.
Yeah.
And that's the case.
Still in jail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I do not like this man at all. Not that I was even close to, but I don't know, killing your own child because, well, not even because, I'm not going to pretend that there's some kind of rational reason or excuse, but
Yeah,
he deserved the worst.
Yeah.
And not because it's not, I hate to even say this, it's not, without even making it a moral judgment, which is borderline impossible, I am, but without even doing that, you need to go to jail till you die.
Yes.
Forget about the moral implications of killing your own child or killing anybody. Like, you cannot be.
No way. First of all, I think he's an actual psychopath.
Yes.
I think he's a full-blown narcissist. It's only ever about him. Mm-hmm. I think he obviously murdered Dylan because he wanted to save face.
Yep.
Right? He was afraid that Dylan, and we don't know what happened in the moments before his death. Maybe Dylan said, I saw the pictures, I'm telling mom, or I'm going to the police, or whatever it is he was going to say.
Yeah.
Zero emotion. Every red flag in the book that he was just a cold-blooded psychopath.
Could have been blackout drunk when it happened.
Could have been.
Under the influence. Not that, I mean, not everyone who drinks, but like when you're a raging alcoholic and you're in that state, you're not even.
Think about what he had to have done, right? He had to have killed his son.
Yes.
Taken his son's body. This is why I'm unsure why it wasn't first-degree murder, right? Because he didn't, snap in the moment in the face of Dylan threatening to reveal the pictures, hit him obviously hard enough to kill him. And then, oh my God, what have I done? Pick him up, rush him to the hospital, call 911, whatever.
Yeah.
He covered his tracks. He dumped his child's body in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Dismembered him?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, fuck you, dude.
Fuck you hard. I hope that he has to just eat his own shit for every meal for the rest of his life.
Well, I hope all the prisoners make him eat their shit.
That too.
That's probably what's happening.
Yeah, that is probably what's happening.
Hey, man, I heard you were into scat play. Heard you were a coprophage.
I'm surprised you haven't sang yet.
Scat man?
Scat man.
That's the old me.
2025's got a new tank.
Comorbidity.
Nice. Yeah, that case was awful and heartbreaking and disgusting and devastating. And I was wondering if you could take us out of it and bless us with a tank's titty.
I would love to.
Bring it.
So this may be a little bit of a repetition on a previous tank's titty, but whatever. Life is life. You have to, double up on things sometimes. So I wrote this note. You can only turn the car radio so loud when it's making a noise. Meaning, in your life, if something is bothering you, the more you try to drown it out, it doesn't go away. So you can eat and it's gone for a few hours. You drink, it's gone for a few hours. You can even do that for years. You can every time it comes up, no, I don't want to deal with this right now. Eventually the noise is going to need to be dealt with inside. So instead of turning the car up, there's two types of people. I learned this. I like this. My brother-in-law told me he's a mechanic. There's people who hear something in the car and call a mechanic. And there's people who hear a noise in the car and turn the radio up. Which one are you? A lot of us turn that radio up.
Yeah.
Not just in the car, but in life, because it's it's going to be too much. I don't want to.
You also don't want to be an alarmist. You want to give things time to work themselves out a little bit before you.
Yes.
Take the next step.
But eventually. Way sooner than later. You keep hearing that same noise. It's not going to stop. As a matter of fact, it's going to get worse. And I'm talking about pain inside or anxiety about a situation or fear or regret or resentment or whatever, all that stuff. So I spent many years trying to do everything but the thing. Go to meetings, talk to my sponsor, pray, read, meditate, therapy, workshops, etc., etc., etc. I was still looking for an external fix to an internal condition, even in sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to fixing behavior that's bothering you, whatever it is, it could be something as minimal as waking up 5 minutes late. Eventually, all the books you read, they're not going to wake you up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change the thing. And you can do other stuff which may inform your decision to be able to do the thing, or it may motivate you or bring new things to light. But what I found is that ultimately nothing's going to do it for you.
Yeah, you have to do it yourself.
You got to do it yourself.
And you have to maybe not wait until the noise is so loud it's, making it so you can't think straight.
But I, in general, am an ignorer to an extent of issues. To the point with my car, literally first of all, I had no money. So like that was a whole other stressor to me. Like I've told you this before. I remember coming back from California, living hand to mouth for a year. And then coming back, working for the fence company. My car was all messed up. It needed like all kinds of like whatever, spark plugs and a big tune-up, oil change, whatever. And our yard was right behind a mechanic shop. And Joe goes, dude, take your car to Steve. He'll fix it in 2 hours. It'll cost you $200.
$200.
I was like, who the hell has $200?
Yeah, for sure.
I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
But I didn't have it.
Yep.
So sometimes you don't have the resources to be able to fix the problems, which I guess in that situation, now that I'm talking around it, books can help and therapy can help.
But
and all
I wanted
that stuff
to clarify. I wanted to go back on that too.
can help, but you ultimately with like therapy will show you what's wrong with you and what needs to be addressed, but
yeah, you got to action.
You got to still address it.
You got to action.
Action is so hard when a habit is like ingrained in your DNA, in your bones.
Yeah, it is. Got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like I always have this conversation with the boys. This is like my big parenting lesson lately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do this. It's, I don't want to take the garbage out. It's cold out. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to perform in orchestra. Like I get stage fright. I'm embarrassed, but I want to do it because everybody else is doing it. Yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
get used to it.
Yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable. You still have to do it. And you know what? You will grow from that.
Well, you have to also choose between your discomfort. Are you going to be uncomfortable on stage, or are you going to be uncomfortable when everyone comes off the stage?
Regret of not doing it.
And you go, man, that looked pretty easy. I should have just done that.
Right.
So choose your discomfort and try and choose the right one that actually moves the needle for you.
Yeah.
Life is hard.
Yep, it is.
It is, and it's a lot to manage. So if you're doing anything, even remotely close to progressing as a person, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
Love it. Okay. Thank you for that.
I stole that. But anyway, so...
Also, you said big tune-up, and I just want to say shout out Big Tuna.
Shout out to Jim.
Yeah.
Or really more Andy.
It was definitely Andy, but I really was biting my tongue because you were in a moment. I was like, Big Tuna, Big Tuna.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, you're a real one.
Thank you for sticking it out with us.
Truly. If you made it this far, you may want to speak to someone about your proclivities. If you made it this far, eat shit.
James is in the corner. He just slapped his head.
Oh, made him do a literal facepalm?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, that's great. Very good. I wish there was a camera on him. Thank you for listening. Thank you for doing all that hard work. That must have been really difficult to research. So big kudos to you.
Appreciate that. My pleasure.
My pleasure to listen. Thank you for doing a great job. And we'll see you guys at the next episode.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.